Right, here we go. It is the 17th of March, 7:22 p.m. Alright, Drew. I figured it would be easier if I just sort of aimed it at you, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes when you're addressing like the whole room and it's so you have to say stuff like, well, I don't know if any of you know this, it's just a little bit strange. It just seems a little bit sort of impersonal. So I figured I'd just send this to you with sort of the personal touch to it. I've got my notes here. So I realise this is supposed to be a daily thing, but because I haven't seen you for a while, I figured I would just do like a summary of the whole time, of like my experience of coronavirus from when it first started. Well, yeah, from when it first started to now. And then from there, I can do daily updates onwards. So, my first experience of it was literally just someone saying to me, oh, some guys in China just ate some bats. At the time, someone said to me it was bats or snakes. So I was like, okay, so people are just eating bats and snakes now, fair enough. And I just sort of laughed it off, just sort of said, silly bastards, what they're doing. And then from there, my next memory of what happened, the next stage, was Italy. I remember coming into work one day and there was a picture on the front of the paper which was a woman with one of those masks on and sort of like a masquerade thing over the top, which I just thought was a bit strange. But that was a couple of weeks ago, I think. And then I was like, I very nearly booked a holiday to near Napoli. And the only reason that I didn't was because the ferry that would have taken me from Napoli to where I was going wasn't running at that time of year. So there you go. I could have been out of pocket and going through all that stuff that a lot of people are going through at the moment. It's just madness, innit? I had no idea at the time that any of this would happen. And then after that, I think I moved on to Malta. I was considering going to Malta. And Alan told me the other day, he said that now if people go to Malta, they're subject to 14 days quarantine. So I could have been stuck in some sort of like Maltese prison or something. Brilliant. I probably wouldn't have gone at this point, obviously, but it's one of those things. I think they're doing the 14-day quarantine to deter people from actually going, because they know that they're going to get pulled up and they're going to get kept in isolation. So yeah, I dodged a bullet with that, really. But that was my obviously, with that being Europe, like Italy, I was like, shit, this is like actually coming my way now. You know, you can distance yourself from it when it's the other side of the world. But then Italy, I'm like, oh, right, that's Europe. That's coming in our direction. I'm not okay with this. So that was my first sort of. It dawned on me a little bit then that this was becoming more than just an isolated event. That this was actually becoming like an outbreak. And then obviously the next thing from that was when it came up saying I'd seen that some British people had died abroad. And I was like, okay, there's going to be some tourism. That's fair enough. But when I saw that somebody had died in England, an English person had died in England, I was like, oh, okay. Obviously, that person had serious underlying health issues, like a lot of the people in the UK who've died have had. But still, it's like, right, well, it's on our doorstep now. It's unavoidable. Like, we're in it. And it's only going to escalate from here. So, as you know, I like my gigs. Live music is like my favourite thing. Absolutely love it. So, since I've sort of been aware of coronavirus in this country, I managed to go to 2 gigs. Tuesday the 10th of March, I managed to go see Twin Atlantic, which I'm really glad that I actually got to see them, because they cancelled their tour on the Friday. So I was really lucky to be able to go to Manchester to actually see them, and I've been listening to them for like 8 years and just never seen them live, and they delivered. Like, they were so good. But even then, like, before I went to the gig, there wasn't any sort of... Nobody thought... There was nothing saying around that things were being cancelled, like live events yet. It wasn't quite at that stage. But partway through the gig, there was this guy at the front of the crowd, and he was shouting at the lead singer, saying, "Sam McTrusty, Sam McTrusty, Sam McTrusty," over and over again. And the lead singer's like, "This guy's just saying my name over and over again." They're from Glasgow. So there you go. That's my terrible Scottish accent for you. "This guy's saying my name over and over again. What do you want, mate?" And he was like, "Oh, it's my granddad's birthday today. He's 78, and he's in the crowd today." And then the lead singer was like, "Fucking hell, he's here. He's here, is he? He's in the crowd. He's 78." And he proceeded to sing "Happy Birthday" to him while doing the elongated hand wash. And I was just laughing. I was laughing so hard, and everyone around me just didn't get it. It was like, why is he doing that sort of thing? It's like, do you not watch the news, everything that's going on, where it's like that person is in the vulnerable category? And he said a few times during the gig, he was like, "Oh, let's enjoy this tonight, because in a week's time, who knows, we might not be able to." And I heard some girl behind me saying, "What's he talking about?" So that goes to show, I guess, that at that point people still either weren't aware of it really, or weren't taking it that seriously. But yeah, so that was really good. I'm glad I know some people potentially might consider the fact that I've been going out and going to live events as being quite selfish, and I can see it from that perspective. Obviously, the last thing I would want to do is endanger somebody that I loved, and so I'm making sure that I don't see my grandparents for that reason. I realise that I'm putting in myself in positions where I might get the virus, but I'm making sure. I mean, it's wheels within wheels, I suppose, because obviously I could go and meet somebody and then give it to them potentially, and then they could give it to a vulnerable person. So by proxy, my behaviour has led to somebody getting ill. But you could take that to the nth degree. You know what I mean? So anyway, I went to another gig on Saturday, 14th of March, so this Saturday just gone. And that one was one where I was thinking, is this actually going to go ahead? Because at this point, a lot of concerts had been cancelled. I kept seeing them popping up, and I was thinking, oh, my one's going to be next, surely. I think the only reason that we got away with it was because it was at the Deaf Institute, which is quite a small venue. And, you know, it's about 500 capacity, like probably, you know, you get about 500 people in there wet through. And that's probably why, I mean, obviously it's at the band's discretion as well, but the venue probably thought they could go ahead with it because the government had these guidelines. They didn't want gatherings of over 500 people. So they probably thought, right, well, this isn't that, so let's stick with it. And that was awesome. It was just really nice. Again, all these people have put themselves in a position of danger, but I would have said, looking at the crowd, they were all relatively young people with, and in that, I mean, obviously I don't know them personally. I don't know their affiliations about whether them going to this gig and potentially getting the illness is going to affect somebody like in there that they live in the same house of or whatever. But they're not people who are in the vulnerable bracket. They're not people who are elderly, and none of them, you know, from what I saw, didn't seem to be have any health conditions. So it was just nice to see a room full of people, like not living in fear, just doing something that they enjoy, going to see some live music and having a bloody good time. And the atmosphere was fantastic. And, you know, this for all I know, that could be the last gig. It sounds a bit dramatic, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. For all I know, that could be like the last gig that I go to. I know now that I've said it, I feel like that is a little over dramatic. Yeah, cut that bit. But it's definitely the last gig that I'm going to go to for months. You know, I think I'm not claiming to be an expert on any of this, by the way. If I'm putting any facts out here, it's purely just stuff that I've read online or from the news or whatever. So feel free to like tell me that I'm talking out my arse. That we are still sort of 3 months away from the peak of the virus, nearly 3 months away from the peak of the virus now. So in that case, that means, you know, we're not going to be able to be having any more of these gatherings, gigs, etc. Until, you know, June, July time. Which is a bit of a sad thought for me, really, because it's my favourite thing to do is to go and see live music and support artists, and I fully appreciate the fact that they are protecting their fans, they're protecting themselves, and as a PR move right now for everybody, it just makes sense just to go along with it and just to say we're not doing it, because you're probably going to cause more controversy if you carry on. I think a lot of people that I've seen on forums for bands and stuff, a lot of people have been reacting positively to it and said, oh, thank you for thinking of us, thank you for taking the decision out of our hands almost, thank you for saying we can't go so that we don't have to deliberate whether it's worth us going and potentially getting ill or passing that on to a loved one. Anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. We're only on two out of 5 pieces of paper, by the way, so this is going to be quite a long one. I might try and speed it along a little bit. So as you're aware, being a Pokemon Go player, they cancelled the Community Day on the 15th of March. And I kind of felt like I can understand them cancelling stuff that's sort of indoors where people are cramped in. But with something like the Community Day, yes, it will bring more people together into the same spot, but you're out in the open. You don't have to go near somebody. You can stand 50 yards away from somebody if you want and do the same thing in the game. I mean, again, it's the same thing where it's like, for PR, it's the best thing to do. But personally, I didn't agree with that. I felt like it would have given people something to do, so go out and get some fresh air. You don't have to interact with anybody. It's something you know that you can enjoy that isn't going to get cancelled. I don't know. I felt like that was just a bit excessive, personally. I might not be met with approval, but I don't know. I didn't see how that would benefit anybody, really. But that's just me. So instead of going to Community Day, for the first time since it's all kicked off in Britain, I went to a supermarket. Well, actually, I mean, I suppose maybe I'd been to Asda when Corona was around, but before it got to the point where everybody was panic buying. So let's just say this is the first time I've been to the supermarket since all the stuff has been happening where people have been going ape. And it was just so strange. Like, seeing all the empty shelves. There were notices on every till where they were saying, please don't verbally abuse our staff. Presumably people had been coming in there early doors, getting elbows in, sort of giving the staff a load of grief. And even when me and my dad were there, there was a woman just ahead of us in the queue, and she'd got 3 packs of toilet paper. Again, this whole toilet paper thing is ridiculous, because I don't know why people feel like they need to stockpile it. Like, it's not a stomach bug, Corona. It's just nonsensical. But anyway, so they had already enforced the 2 packs per person rule when we went. We went to the Tesco in Helsby, and she had 3 4-packs specifically. And so the woman on the till said, I'm very sorry, it's only 2 packs per shop, essentially, per transaction. And so she started arguing the toss, and me and Dad had just stood there like, oh, come on. And she was like, oh, well, I could have gone back and I could have got some 24 packs or some 9 packs. I could have had 2 9-packs. And the woman just said, like deadpan, well, you should have got 2 9-packs then, rather than 3 4-packs, because that's the rule. And she was like, oh, well, okay, I'll take 2 now, and I'll get my daughter to come back in and buy the other one. It's just like, just don't be a tosser. Like that poor woman, like she's been working extra hard, extra time probably, because of all this madness that's ensuing. And you've just got the nerve to just sort of, you would just say, wouldn't you? You would just say, sure, that's the rule, okay. But she was there arguing the toss with her. And it just makes me think that like people's true nature comes out in a time like this. All the people who are like fake nice, who you see, I see them in work all the time, people who are like, oh, thank you so much. And it's like, you don't really mean that, do you? You're a tosser, but you're pretending not to be. But in times like this, those people, their veil of demeanour just completely vanishes. And it's really telling, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. Now, I'll save it for another time because I forgot to put it in the video. But I was very happy that I got the last antibacterial gel, hand wash, in Tesco Helvey at the time. And Alan was like, oh, don't buy that, because it was £3. That's probably the only reason why it was still there. And it was white elderflower and champagne luxurious hand wash. Like I say, I'll get it in the next one. I will, because it's a thing of beauty. I felt like I definitely had to have it just because it was the last one. The last antibacterial one, shall I say. But yeah, that was my claim to fame from my Tesco shop. So, this Saturday coming, I was meant to be at a gig. That got postponed. The reason being, one of the singers / guitarists is apparently being quarantined in Barcelona at the moment. So I mean, that is a fair reason, because he's under lock and key for like 2 weeks or something, which is just fuck. And then, so I was meant to be going to this gig with a friend of mine, Tom, who I recently met at another gig, where we were both going solo, and we were like, hey, like, let's go to gigs together sort of thing. He's a cool guy. And I thought, if he's still game for it, let's go for another one. So we got I got resale tickets to see Squid. I kind of ballsed it up, and I ended up with 5 tickets because I thought I'd bought 2, and it hadn't. I thought I'd gone for 2 and it hadn't worked, and then I bought 3, and it turns out that I've got 5, and that got postponed too. So I'm gigless this weekend. But I mean, I don't know what I expected. I don't know why I bought more tickets, because with everything maybe I was just being hopelessly optimistic, but with everything that's going on, that's the way of it now. I was trying to get tickets for Biffy Clyro. Pre-sale tickets were coming out tomorrow. That got cancelled. So yeah, that's just the current state of the world, isn't it? So coming up, I've got gig in April, which is the same day as, oh yeah, that's what I meant to say as well, our Sefton Park Pokemon thing. Will that happen? Potentially not. Probably not. You know, it's in a month's time. I think this is still going to be very much going on in a month. I don't think that's going to happen. And personally, I don't think it would be worth you travelling all the way as well, with everything that's going on and all the sort of disharmony. It's not a good idea to even by train to travel, especially not as far as you would have to come from Stirling, I don't think, you know. So that might not happen. I've got that talk show gig in April. I highly doubt that'll happen. And then I've got I'm seeing Feet I'm meant to be seeing Feet at Band on the Wall at 1st of May. Unlikely. And then I've got Neighbourhood Weekender with Richard and Berto, 24th of May. I don't know. Probably not. So all that is just fucked. Brilliant, isn't it? So that's sort of like my lowdown of where I'm at and where I'm going to be in the future. So sorry that was quite meant to be a summary, and it was long as dicks, so I do apologise. So now we're going to do my day, and I promise you that my other videos aren't going to be as lengthy as that, because obviously you're only going to have like 24 hours or maybe 2 days if I get lazy with it. It's worth to pick through. So I got up as usual for work today. Boris Johnson had done his conference at about 5 o'clock. Me and Alan were having tea. This is last night. And he just said, we advise you not to go to pubs and restaurants. And I was like, shit, I work in a restaurant. That's me screwed. So I kind of was expecting something to happen today, and it did. I was supposed to be working a 10/7, quite a long day. Wasn't really looking forward to it. But I got a text saying, do you want to come in at 12 because it's dead? I was like, oh shit, yeah, sure. Can't really argue the toss with that. And I ended up doing a 12/4. So a 4-hour shift rather than a 9-hour shift. I was like, oh God, brilliant. And tomorrow, rather than working a 10/5, I'm working an 11/3. So it's slowly depleting. My manager spoke to me, and she was really diplomatic about it and everything. And she was saying, look, we don't know what's going to go on. For all we know, one of these conferences that Boris Johnson does, he might just say, we're closing everything in the public sector. We're closing pubs, we're closing restaurants. And then that's it. Our hands are tied. But their plan is to try and stay open as long as possible. Whether that's as long as possible that the government will allow, or as long as possible as the boss sees it financially viable, they're going to try and stay open. And I've still got 20 hours this week. Usually I'd work closer to 40, but you know, it's something. They're doing the best they can for me. They said that they were going to prioritise me because I'm like the only full-time member of staff other than the management. And they said, we will make sure you get the shifts that we can give you. I really get on with everybody at work. They're really sound, and it will be a real shame if we have to close. I will actually feel quite sad about the fact that I can't work with them, because over the last 9 months we really have established a rapport. You know, there's made some friends there who I actually see outside of work as well, which is really nice. So they've given me some holiday pay. I've got some holiday pay still in the bank to sort of float me. I do have some savings. I'm not gonna expire thankfully my dad's very generous, and I live here with minimal financial overheads. So I should be able to ride this out on what I've got and what I'm going to get paid for the last month or so. Obviously it depends on the scale of it, and I will probably be looking into whether I'm eligible for some emergency funding as well if I do lose my job altogether, because I'm going to need that ballast to actually stay alive. But that's all a bridge to be crossed at a later date, really. But it's uncertain times ahead, pour moi. This is an interesting one. So, probably something that you might not necessarily get in your other video diaries. So, surprisingly, I thought that the dating scene would totally die because people wouldn't want to go and meet a random stranger and tongue them if they thought they had even had the slightest chance of having coronavirus. And it might not come off because I've had so many no-shows on me, but I'm supposed to be meeting a girl on Friday. So there you go. So I will be able to give you a full dating manifesto of how to date in the corona world, potentially, through video format. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Word to the wise, I am starting to feel a little bit peaky now. I don't know whether it's necessarily coronavirus, but considering the situations I've put myself in, it could be. I've got headaches, shortness of breath, which kind of feels like my asthma, because I do have mild asthma, like nothing like some people, but it kind of just feels like that asthmatic sort of short kind of dealio. So yeah, I could be off work like sooner than I think anyway. So who knows? It's bloody strange. But anyway, that's all I've got for you so far, and I'll keep you posted.